William Constable's house was attacked by a group of armed men last night, when his stable lad and one of the attackers were killed. Sir George Morton is financing a great adventure to the new lands and to raid Spanish treasure ships. William suspects the attack was an attempt to stop the manufacture of his invention of a navigation device, which would assist the ships in this adventure. I am received at Sir George's house and ushered into a receiving room. It is Wensum who appears after a wait of some minutes. "Dr. Constable, your visit was not expected?" "No, Master Wensum, I have urgent business with Sir George." "He is not here. He is at our warehouses on the North Quay, and will not return until afternoon. Pray give me your message, and I will ensure that Sir George receives it in a timely and accurate fashion." "I do not doubt your good offices, Master Wensum, but I must speak with Sir George in person. I will wait." He adjusts his stance, gazes at me from top to bottom, and says, "You wear a sword." I notice he does not mention my injured arm in its sling. It is a simple matter of caution in these troubled times. He appears discomfited by my appearance, makes to respond, but changes his mind, bows stiffly, and leaves without further word. I am discouraged at the thought of passing idle hours in my wait while others are industrious at West Cheap, but must bear it. Should I seek out Helen, or will this be regarded as improper? I will stay, for the present. My patience is rewarded in short time, as the door opens, and Helen appears. "William! Why, I heard of a visitor, but I did not know it was you." "My dear, I am here to talk with your father on a pressing matter. She will hear of the episode last night, so there is little to be gained from my circumspection. Our house was attacked this night gone by a group of men with foul intent. They planned to fire the buildings, but we were able to deflect their purpose. I hesitate to share the worst of the news. Our stable boy was murdered horribly, and we killed one of their number. Her mouth gapes, then she runs to me, claps her arms around my waist, and lays her head on my breast. My wrist is caught in her embrace, and there is some pain, but I will not free myself. "Why? Why was it done? A scholar and his family, what could be the cause?" "It is not known for certain. It may have a connection with the instrument of navigation for your father's venture." She raises her head and looks into my eyes. "I do not understand. Why would such an apparatus be the focus of such extreme jealousy?" "It is a question I have considered at length. Before I can answer, the door opens, and Wensum enters with reddening and accusing face.
This is unseemly. Sir George will hear of it. You, Constable, will break your grip on the lady."
His breathing is heavy and excited.
"Mistress Helen, you should accompany me now, away from that man."
Helen releases her arms and steps back.
"I will remain here, Master Wensum. I was merely comforting a friend on his misfortune. You may instruct Rosamond to attend us here, if you consider that would render our conversation proper."
He grits his teeth, shakes his head, then turns and shuts the door with unnecessary force.
"Are you harmed? Your mother, Dr. Fox?"
"We are unhurt and recovering from our shock." She folds her arms, closes her eyes, and shakes her head, as though this will help her to comprehend the news. I say, "What is your opinion of Master Wensum?"
"I think I have said before that he does well for my father's business. Why do you ask?"
"Do you know if he has an association with other gentlemen not connected to your father's trade?"
"It is a strange question."
She wrinkles her nose and tilts her head.
He has visitors while my father is absent, certainly. Men of business and merchants.
There is another pause while she considers.
Latterly there was a visit from a party of nobles. Their brightly coloured dress and bearing marked their quality. I had only a glimpse. Rosamond told me later that the Earl of Oxford was in their number, and he had been here once before.
Do you remember if your father was away on business when his party called?
Yes, he was. William, why do you persist with this line of inquiry?
It is no matter. I wonder what I might have done to offend Master Wensum, and how I may rectify this situation. I see she is not fully convinced. Come now, my dear. I will not let this opportunity of our closeness pass without another kiss. I put my good arm around her to pull her close. She pushes at me, then surrenders to my urging and kisses me sweetly, but briefly. I want more, and eventually her body melts into a slow and tender kiss. Our bodies press together, and I sense a shared hunger for fulfillment of our excitement. Abruptly, she pushes me away and brushes hands over her bodice. Someone approaches. It is Rosamond who enters. She smiles, bobs a brief curtsy to me, goes to Helen and links her arm.
Are you here for more plums, Dr. Constable?
There is a twinkle in Rosamond's eye as she speaks.
You have upset Master Wensum most severely. You must have had the best in your conversation with him.
I have not seen this mischievous aspect of Rosamond's nature before. She has been quiet and withdrawn in my company. Helen changes the subject quickly, and says that we were discussing an alternative remedy for Dr. Fox's congestion. We adjourn to the still and drying room to consider this refinement, where I am delighted to find Jane D. waiting for the return of her two companions. Her bruising has faded, and there is a spark to her being that speaks well for her recent improvement. The conversation is immediately lively and engaging. There are poorer ways to pass the time while I wait for Sir George to return. Morton arrives home barely an hour after noon, and a manservant begs me to follow him to his private chamber. It is a fine room, draped in tapestries of quality, with cushioned chairs and a roaring fire. Sir George sits in a large seat, with feet on a stool and glass in hand. He offers me sweet wine and begs me to sit.
I am told you have urgent business, William. I trust nothing obstructs the manufacture of the instruments.
It is the safeguarding of that process that I come to discuss, Sir George. I continue with an account of the assault on our house, while plans for the instrument were laid in Hick's chamber. His eyes widen as I recount the murder of Gregory, and the killing of an assailant. I emphasize the heroic nature of Chap's charge, and praise the others for stout defence. Although there can be no certainty that the instrument, which we will call the shadow staff, is at the heart of this malevolence, I can think of no other issue. Therefore, I beg your consideration in the employ of guards at the workshop of Master Chap during the period of his labour for us.
It will be done. And this is a most terrible episode, William. My sympathies to you and your mother for this disruption to your household. I understand there may be substantial monetary reward from your shadow staff, but this is wickedness beyond all expectation.
He drains his glass and clears his throat.
It will explain why you wear a sword on your visit. Wensum was vexed at your soldierly appearance.
I apologize for that, Sir George. I thought it a prudent measure so soon after our disturbance.
Yes, I applaud your caution.
He fills his glass and offers the bottle.
There is another subject of concern that I would raise with you.
He pauses and fixes me with his eyes.
I have been informed that you took advantage of my absence and touched my daughter in a most lewd and inappropriate manner. Is this true?
No, it is not, Sir George. Mistress Helen showed great alarm at the news of our attack, and Master Wensum misinterpreted it as a brief moment of comfort for her distress. I'll try that again. I'll go from yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, I applaud your caution. He fills his glass and offers the bottle. There is another subject of concern that I would raise with you. He pauses and fixes me with his eyes. I have been informed that you took advantage of my absence and touched my daughter in a most lewd and inappropriate manner. Is this true? No, it is not, Sir George. Mistress Helen showed great alarm at the news of our attack, and Master Wensum misinterpreted a brief moment of comfort for her distress. I wonder you felt obliged to trouble her with a story that is sure to bring fright and anguish to a lady. Was it necessary? Your daughter has a strong and perceptive mind, Sir George. I am sorry that I could not withstand the force of her questioning. He nods his head in understanding and appears satisfied with my explanation. But now would not be a choice moment to declare a fondness for Helen. I must be patient, and wait until the Morton family is clear of all suspicion in Walsingham's investigation.